Obedience. What agreements who have to follow the means of an agreement when they were ordained by some sort of call to order meeting. It seems like an inconvenience to humble yourself and pledge allegiance to authority who may not cover the full extent of your own inclination to deviance. But to the feelings which will be intimate to such an experience, you are not conditionally saved by your innocence. You get the full benefits if you can be full of benevolence in times when the situation calls you to be full of belligerence. Oh, how tough times in life can be so menacing, but oh, how tough people through those times are so prevalent. Obedience is the better solution to our negligence. It's nothing like how sacrifice makes us very hesitant. It's like how obedience is the best-selling book for the optimist and pessimist, though the sacrifice poses as an attention deficit. Once the sides are switched, they balance out much more toward a realist. Well, and sacrifice. What's such good advice to give someone who's already paid the price? With as much value as it may entice, you can't always tell if its worth will suffice. Due to the previous personal advice, think it twice as much more to the advantage of a mental device. But what is more precise is the disadvantage of how moderately you can't enjoy life. The situations are meant to cause strife and maybe even draw your knife, but the experience finds you the meanings of being alright when your personal chronicles get the most of your might. Why so close to ignite the mind to matters of fright? Don't give up the fight. Keep looking toward the light. All words of encouragement to have your dreams and ambitions to reunite. All of those pleaded in spite of your indication to sacrifice. Nothing more will excite a heart of cheerfulness than taking sight of how to deal with all what's left in this trumpet of life. Moderation is the consolidation of all types of amortization that comes with all sorts of life innovations. You can look at it as an optimal accommodation or a personal occupation, the balance between conservation and presentation. Most see this as a criminalization of a life once trampled by a lack of motivation. Most see this as a demoralization of standards that are slandered by having no sense of dedication. Most see this as a decentralization of the customs and traditions of a person in which inhibits them liberation. Only few recognize this as a revitalization needed to booster and boss self-determination. You get out what you put in, the flesh wrestling with the spirit within, just like Jacob did with an angel and he didn't win, because God requires you to obedience to prevent you from sin. For sacrifice desires your patience to run thin, but inspires the mind to suspend the selfishness the world recommends. The trials of obedience contends over deceit like the wiles of the devil depends on those who are weak. What is offered to God ascends from the praises we extend. What is given back to God tends to be how to sanctify the trends. What is purpose for God blends purity and righteousness in which our faith should defend. If the Israelites were required to make amends with the Heavenly Father, as the Bible portends, then we too have to commend Jesus to the highest degree for stepping in for the sake of how humanity's propensity to condescend. But it is with our hearts that we must apprehend what was done on the cross was the taking in of our deserving end. But God seemed fit that this is where true life will begin. Obedience is better than sacrifice.